is it time for the roommates to shut it down? And not knowing that our guy, the governor, Kendrick Perkins, had suggested this on the NBA Today pregame show for the Knicks versus Sixers game. So we now turn to Worst Take, JD. We now turn to Worst Take. It is now the segment, time for Worst Take, man, where we go around the NBA podcast sphere and react to sound bites as it relates to the New York Knicks. So here is the governor, Kendrick Perkins, on NBA Today, talking about the Paul George shutting down podcast, P, and suggesting maybe it's time for Jalen and Josh to do the same. Here's Kendrick Perkins, the governor. JD, I'm going to have you react to it. Here we go.
Paul George is not the only person that should be, taking a break from podcasting during the basketball season. I feel like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart as well need to take a break, because if you're trying to go out there and honestly compete for an NBA championship, that should be your only goal. Anything else outside of that is a distraction, right? I wish I would have walked in the 2008 locker room talking about our podcasting through the season, or anybody else. It would have been smoke and furniture moving around there. So, again, guys need to keep the main thing the main thing. And when you have an opportunity to win a championship, keep the main thing the main thing. Everything else can wait.
Okay. Big Perk, the governor. Now, we did give him that nickname when he was on the show last year. Now people are out for his head, man. People are saying we need to impeach him. What do you think, man? Big Perk, the governor. They say we got to impeach him. They say we got to, revoke the title. The nickname commission.
Big Perk crashing out like the regular Knicks fan on the Knicks sweater, man. Big Perk feeling the pressure. He's scrambling. He's running out. He's running out of excuses to give us. I think it was just last week when Stephen A was going off. Big Perk was still saying, chill. He gave us the back-to-back excuse when we lost to the Cavaliers, although we just had 8 days off.
Yeah.
And the Cavaliers also were on a back-to-back. So I think Big Perk is just running out of ways to justify the Knicks play against the elite teams. And I think, it's funny. I think when you break it down, the Roommates podcast is not really what is it really doing in terms of, because the Paul George podcast is different. Paul George is out here interviewing all types of people nationally. But if you really focus in terms of the niche of the Roommates podcast, they're interviewing Mike Breen. They're having every single player on the Knicks. They're having a different Knicks player every week. They had Mark Cuban in there. They had Taylor Rooks in there.
Why are you saying it like that, bro? Go ahead, man.
My bad. We laugh. Hold on. They say when you mention her name, you get hypnotized. I was woo. All right. We laugh.
Focus, man. Focus.
Taylor Rooks.
Yes.
They have her in there. So I think when you break down the Roommates podcast, there's nothing. It's not like they're really doing anything out of bounds or crazy outside of the scope that they're doing their podcast, doing it once a week. And who are the players doing it too? Is Jalen Brunson, who is third in the NBA in clutch points, who is the player that is literally continuing to bail us out.
Yeah.
And it's Josh Hart, who is our, hustle guy, the guy that you could make a strong argument was another all-star candidate for the New York Knicks, especially after you saw a few players hurt. He could have been a substitute for a Jalen Johnson or something like that, right? So I think when you look at the players involved, it ain't that serious to me. However, and I think Paul George, because of it's Paul George, he has all different types of guests. He was more national with it, and I think the pressure he felt first. He said, I'm going to cancel it so I can focus on competing for a championship. I said, compete for what?
Yeah, right.
Paul
Ship
George,
sail, buddy.
You're 40 games too late, buddy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Roommates podcast, I'll say this, though. You saw Jalen Brunson tonight mention resilience. You see, like a lot of people are scrambling now, trying to figure things out. I will say this: it wouldn't be a bad thing if they did it as a kind of psychological, kind of let's lock in type of thing, to where the Knicks personalities could kind of rally around something like that, where it's like, our captain who's already playing well is saying, forget all this. We're going Kobe Mama mentality. Something like that could bring the team even a little bit more together. But I don't know. Other than that, maybe I don't see why they should stop doing it because of who's involved in the way they're playing. But as of kind of outside the box thing, because of the pressure this Knicks team is facing, I could also see how it could low key have a little bit of an effect on this team based on the personalities that are on this roster and the way that those personalities on this roster are being questioned for their toughness and their desire for the game.
Yeah, those are all good takes. I think I can see why Paul George did it. As I said, I thought it was kind of cringy even way back when the season started that he was still doing it, even when Philly was still respectable in the league. But now that they're completely out of it, you got the whole Embiid saga. Is he going to come back? And they're talking about breaking bones in his hip. Like, they're just crashing and burning over there in Philly. And Paul George, their biggest investment, they should still have enough to be more than just a playing consideration with Paul George and Maxey. So you're looking even worse by continuing to do this podcast and you're bumming it up over there in Philly. You're not looking like a dog, and you're looking very casual like you just went there to get the bag. This is why I didn't want Paul George here in New York to begin with. But with Jalen and Josh, like, those are the two guys on this team who deliver on a nightly basis. They come to work every day. They put in the work. Jalen makes the all-star team, career high in assists, number 3 in clutch, as we talked about at the top of this show. He's delivering when it matters the most. Josh Hart, career highs in assists as well, career high shooting. Like, he's putting in the work every single day despite battling injuries. Like, I don't think those guys, in the fourth quarter crunch time are thinking, oh, man, we got to book our next guest, or, what am I going to ask, Vinny from The Sopranos when we get up with him in the studio. Like, it's one day in their off day to let loose, relax a little bit, probably a couple hours. Like, we record podcasts, probably 1 to 2 hours, 2 hours probably. You go home and you do what you got to do. I will say this, though. Because the expectations have been heightened around this team, I would go on a hiatus after the regular season. After the regular season, book up your guests. After the regular season, it's just like how J.J. Redick with Old Man and the Three. He got his boy taking over. They got Halliburton. They do this guy. They still keep it as a going concern. They still keep it as an operation. You let what's the third wheel? Matt. Let Matt take over. You know what I mean? Take over with his guests. Do the thing. You keep it going. You do your clips. But I think it would be good to go on a hiatus, get ready for the playoffs, and lock in. Because the first round ain't guaranteed. You just saw Cade. Cade and them just sent Boston packing tonight.
They 8-9 in a row now.
They just won 8 in a row. They sent Boston packing. Cade is not playing around. And they lost to the Pistons 2 out of 3 this year. So you already got fans on edge that they can't beat Boston and Cleveland. Now you got fans scared that they might not get out the first round because Cade might pull off the upset. Take a break at the end of the regular season. Do your thing now. They got the 3rd seed. We're straight. When come April 11, 12, whenever the regular season finish, take a break, show the fans we locked in, we ready, and get ready for war. Because K going to be ready for war, bro. He's not playing around with these guys right now.
And JB Bickerstaff is going to be a motivated coach. He's like, oh, yeah,
right.
I'm tired of hearing that whole Cleveland Cavaliers thing too. It ain't only the players that were left there. It's also me as the head coach. So you have him. You have one of the Thompson twins who Alsar had 5 steals tonight. And then you talk about, the team that is getting questioned for their toughness. Well, you want to deal with Isaiah Stewart for a 7-game series?
That's right. Beef stew coming through.
Like,
he's trying to get under somebody's skin. You know what I mean? He's going to try to get somebody thrown out or try to scrap.
You got the former Nick Tim Hardaway, and I hate players like that are like J.R. Smith types
Yeah.
because Tim Hardaway can win one game in a 7-game series for the Detroit Pistons shooting from 50 because those players, we've seen it very, very much. Those players can get red hot in one game. And so, like, the Pistons have a building formula to upset you. So, the tricky thing, too, though, CP, is when you do these podcasts, like when you say do it in the off season, the thing is a lot, when you talk about algorithms, traffic, there's less traffic in the off season. So I think part of the marketing strategy is to do this during the games because that's where more eyes are on the platforms and they're on the algorithms because everybody's tuned into the season. There's more attention and more traffic, but forget all that, man. Like, forget all that. Like, you have to try something different, and I think it would mean something to the fans and to the team. And it's just funny. It's 2025. It's part of all this creative
Part of
ways
it.
of leading.
Yeah.
Everything is not the old school way. Listen, go on a little hiatus and make a little statement and show your teammates that although you're one of the top 5 clutch players in the NBA this season, that's nothing to you, that you're thinking about the team, that you want the team to lock in. And that's one way to lead by example, since he's not the most, I would say, vocal leader. That would be something that I think will have an effect on the team.
Big facts, man. Big facts. What do you guys think in the chat? Let us know, man. Should they shut down the Roommates pod and focus on the season? Is Big Perk right? Do you agree or disagree with Big Perk, the governor? Let us know your thoughts, man. Leave some comments in the comment section, and we will shout you guys out.